what have you done? Because I know your client load is higher now than it will be for most of your career, because you're being handed off as much experience as possible and meeting your certifications. What are you doing to help yourself emotionally and mentally through this really accelerated time of kind of earning your stripes?
Yeah. I think there's some really like concrete, practical things that I've done and built into my life. And then there's some more like abstract kind of worldview, how I've had to shape it.
Yeah, what you got?
Start with the concrete. Some of it is I'm in therapy myself. Like I decided to go back to that so I can work through my stuff that comes up with clients.
Yeah.
I also have to be really vigilant about exercising, taking care of myself, making sure that I have time with friends, making sure I have time with friends that where I don't talk about work, things like that. So having those like really practical parts of my life that have nothing to do with work.
Can I ask as an aside about that?
Absolutely.
Are friends outside of your profession important, or are most of your friends counselors? And is that tough?
I think it's a mix. I will say, actually, most of my closest friends are people I met in my degree program.
Yeah.
So we're all therapists. And in some ways, that's amazing. And that's actually something I want to make sure I mention, is having a peer group of people that are going through it the same pace as you are is so encouraging, because I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with my friends where I've been like, this happened with a client, I'm the worst. And they're like, oh no, I did something like that last week. Yeah. And you can feel very seen. But there are also times with those friends that we have times where we're like, we cannot talk about work right now. We have got to just be present, be talking about other things in our life, because otherwise work feels like it's your whole life.
So some important things I heard then, not being afraid to get help yourself. Absolutely. Whether that's therapy, something like Philosopher Kings, whatever it is you do, plug in somewhere where you can be honest about yourself, your progress, and your self-doubt, honestly, too. Having a good group of friends, and honestly, some of them in your field that you can bounce scenarios off of is healthy, but then being guarded and sometimes not talking about work intentionally. And then I heard you mention taking care of your physical self.
Yes.
Not just like making yourself run, but what you put into your body and sleep and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, this is something that I preach to my clients. So it's kind of practicing what I preach, that we are embodied creatures. And so like we're not just floating heads. So when we're struggling with anxiety, when we're struggling with depression, with addiction, all these things, they're also showing up in our body. And so one of the best ways we take care of ourselves is, I think, taking care of our body as well as our mind, our emotions, all those things. They all fit together.
Yeah. And we do some honest work on that with Philosopher Kings, and just owning that actually within the professions, there are higher percentages of addiction than lower, because you're giving such an emotional part of yourself away regularly that a lot of times we don't know how to come off of that. Okay.
Which maybe that kind of feeds into the other thing that I have kind of shifted as far as just like worldview and perspective that has helped me deal with working in a helping profession. Because emotional boundaries are a very big thing. I mean, with work, you think about boundaries like, okay, when am I going to look at my email? When am I going to answer the phone? Things like that. But a lot of times in these helping professions, you don't think about the fact that you're sitting with people during very emotionally heavy moments. And I think a lot of people, myself included, go into this field because we want to know how to be with people in those moments and help them through it. But we can make this mistake of even unconsciously taking on those emotions.
Yeah, like carrying something that is not yours to carry.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And something that even just in the past few months and with something that I work on with my supervisor is, how can I be a witness to what's going on, not a participant in what's going through with my client. Because a lot of times that's more what they need anyway. They need me to be present with them and a witness. And so it's really shifting from this idea of that I cannot change people, I cannot save people. And so it's my job to be a support, but it's also sometimes my job to stand back. Because if I am trying to participate in all that they're going through, then I'm going to be drained and I'm going to burn out, and it's not going to be helpful for them either.
That's really, really helpful. And why don't we leave that segment right there? And take that advice to heart and recognize this is a community where we can journey together in those ideas. And thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.